Welcome to the Life of KG, your ultimate destination for all things motivation and business insights. Join me, Katie Godfrey, serial entrepreneur and the brains behind the KG brand. Along the way, we'll welcome inspiring guests and share invaluable business tips to fuel your growth journey. Don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button and leave us a review. With that said, let's dive into the world of success together.
Have you downloaded my free goal planner? If you haven't, you must do this now. Making goals is a serious part of business strategy that lots of people miss, or they just make their goals at the beginning of the year and then do nothing about it after. My goal planner is going to help you create your yearly goals, but also your 5-year goals, and then it's going to help you break them down to actually be able to achieve these within the time span that you've put with that. So head to the show notes now and download your free goal planner today.
Hey everyone, welcome back to A Life of KG. I'm super croaky because I have a chest infection, but that never stops me going. But I suffer with them so badly, don't I? I've always got one when I get like in the middle of a launch or if I get too run down. Super annoying. So just bear with the voice, but I'm never going to stop recording. Anyway, I put on socials about people sending me questions that they'd like answered on the podcast. So we could do a bit of a Q&A session, which I'm really excited about. And there is so many questions that come through. So I'm going to spend this session answering questions. I'm actually not going to be able to go through all of them because there's so many. So let me pick out the ones that I feel will help most people that listen on this pod. So, which one shall I pick? How much money do I need to start a business realistically? Now, this is a really interesting one because naturally a lot of the time we're not actually very good at money. Or we think, oh, do you know what? If I have 20 grand, then I could just spend 20 grand doing up the business or 15 grand doing up the business and 5 grand cash flow. Lots of people don't actually think about the cash flow because they just assume as soon as they start this business, money is going to start coming in no matter what the business is. And it just doesn't happen like that. I always say when you start a business to have your budget in mind and times that by 3. I know that sounds really horrid, but that's definitely what I would recommend because things cost more than you think when you put it all together. Unexpected costs come up all of the time. And you just don't want to be in that position where you start a new business and then you're like, oh my God, I've got a cash flow problem already, because cash flow is what kills all businesses. So we just don't ever want to be in that position. If we could, in an ideal world, have, again, 3 months worth of cash flow in the bank too, that would be amazing. Not everyone can be in that position, and it's, that's a lot to ask for. But in an ideal world, that would be fabulous, because then while you're getting started on the business, there's some cash in the bank and you don't have to worry. But even when it comes to when people are building 7-figure businesses, 8-figure businesses, the biggest thing that kills businesses is always the cash flow, no matter how big they grow. So it's definitely worth just trying to have some backup plan if possible. The next question, I love this. Should I go all in or still do my 9 to 5? Oh my God. I think that's not the best question to ask me actually, because I'm an all or nothing girl. I'm going to go all in. I mean, when I started my business, I literally had no backup whatsoever. I took out all the loans to do the business up, went all in. And I actually would recommend not doing how I done it. But I think if you're thinking, oh, shall I set up a side thing and do my 9 to 5 on the side? Now, that does work for a lot of people. They don't like the risk. But also, if you have the risk, you will push harder. If you know that you've got the safety net of a 9 to 5, why would you push so hard in the business? So then it takes a lot longer to get it where you want it to go or to be as successful, because you don't need it as such. Whereas if you're like, oh my God, I've gone all in, And now this is the only possible income I've got. I need to make it work. There's no other choice, which is the position that I was in. You're more than likely to make it work more. So I think go all in. What new mistakes do new business owners make? Now, there's a lot. I think one is obviously financials and not knowing numbers. So when people price their services, and this is with any business, by the way, hair, beauty, aesthetics, coaching, any type of business, people are just seeing what other people are charging and then sorting their prices out around that, rather than seeing like what their outgoings are, seeing actually what they want to make from this business. I'm always like, well, what do you want to make? Let's not worry about Sally down the road. What do you want to make? What do you feel happy with? What do you need to cover your bills at home and provide for your family? And charge your services around that. But the bottom line is you need to charge more than obviously what your overheads are, which people don't do, believe it or not. So that's one of the biggest mistakes. The second one is the fact that people try to market to everyone. They try and serve everyone. And I hate it when people go, you have to niche, but it is true. You need the audience to talk to. You need to know that exact person you're talking to. So you need to make sure you've got a niche in mind. If you try and talk to everyone, you will talk to no one. And unfortunately, that's the fact. I remember sitting with my coach at the time and I was like, I really just want to help all women in business. And this was years ago now. And she was like, that's really good, Kate. But if you're talking to all women, you literally aren't going to be able to do that. Like your messaging isn't going to relate to all women in business. So obviously that's when we've always kind of niched down to hair, beauty and aesthetics. Now, obviously I'm broadening out because I help many other businesses as well. But my messaging is that. But I'm helping restaurants, I've helped cake companies, I've helped swimming teachers. So I help many other businesses, but my niche online has to be hair, beauty, aesthetics. And we've recently brought in, obviously, training academies and coaches because naturally my clients are progressing that way. But, you know, if I come in and started off of all women in business, my business definitely wouldn't have scaled to how it's scaled today because I would have been talking to no one. What's the difference between turnover and profit? And why does it matter? Oh my God, right. This is huge. I've got so much to say on this subject. Turnover is obviously the amount of money that the business brings in as a whole, okay? So when people go, oh, we're a 6-figure business, we're a 7-figure business, or whatever size business they are, that's great. That's their turnover. That's not saying their profit. You could be a 6-figure business owner or a 7-figure business owner and not make any profit. What that means is there's nothing left after all of the business has paid all the outgoings. Okay. So there's some businesses out there that are higher in profit margins. For example, coaching is higher in profit margins, whereas salons is slightly lower in profit margins. So we need to really work at the fact of how to get our profit margins higher. We need to make sure that all of like the treatments are running at the right price so there is profit, which is what people don't think about. So it's all good and well people building these businesses with high turnover, and obviously we need that turnover, but we also need to make sure there's a profit. So then obviously you make sure you're getting paid, you can take dividends, you can invest that into something else, you can put it in a pension, you could go into property. Like there's lots that you can do with profit of a business. So I would definitely look into, if you're not already making a profit, why not? And how can you go on and do that? Do you need to look at your pricing? Do you need more clients? Do you need to bring more high ticket treatments in or services in? So there's lots to do about that, but it's not always about your turnover. I work with businesses that will have a much lower turnover, but a very high profit margin. So let me say, for example, there's businesses that I work with that will be taking £50,000 months, but their profit is like 3%. And then I will work with businesses that have 10k months but they've got, a much higher profit, like 50%. Obviously, it depends on what business it is, because different businesses' profit margins are different. But it's not always about the turnover. It's about what's left at the end once everything's paid. How do I stop comparing myself to other people? Now, this is like a huge thing. And I think lots of people get imposter syndrome. People will start looking at what other things are going on online, what other people are doing, what other success people are having. And it can really stop people from growing. And they'll start comparing themselves. And I think this is actually only natural. I remember when I first started my business, my salon, there was only a handful of salons at the time. And I found it really difficult, because if I would put something out, I would think, and it might not even be the case, but I would think that they were copying me, or they're doing similar to me. Or if I thought they were doing really well, I'd be like, oh my God, they're doing really well and I'm not. And I would compare myself quite a lot. So what I done actually in the early days, not many people know this, but what I done is I blocked everyone. And that was just because then I could just stay in my lane as much as possible. Now, bear in mind, at this time, I was very young. I was 19. I needed to protect where I was at. I needed to protect my energy. Obviously, I wasn't in the coaching field at all then, so now would be completely different. But I needed to block everything that kind of distracted me or made my mindset dip. And I actually recommend that to everyone if you struggle in this area. Now, obviously, that is not the case. I'm all about collaboration. I love seeing what other businesses are doing. I look at it as a strategy piece to look at competitors, to look at other businesses. And obviously now I help businesses in exactly the same field, and it doesn't even matter. But if you are in that comparison mode, just hide, block, however you feel is best to do that online, do it. Anything to protect your energy. There's someone that recently blocked me actually, and I was a bit like, how can they block me? I haven't even done anything. And I started being like, oh my God, I hope I haven't hurt their feelings in any way. I managed to get hold of them. And it was the fact that they just wanted to block all the other coaches because they felt that they, compared themselves. And I was like, do you know what, get it? That's okay. I haven't obviously taken it personally now. But protect your energy, protect your peace, protect your mindset. If it means you just have to hide people for a little while until they get stronger, then so be it. Someone asked me, what mindset helped you push through hard times? I've had so many hard times in business. And do you know what? I think it's just part of the parcel. I remember Luke, bless him, always saying, you chose this life. He said that a few times when obviously things would get hard or whatnot. And I was like, do you know what? Yeah, I have chose this life. And I also have people come to me all the time and go, Kate, when does it get easier? And it doesn't. The bigger you grow, the bigger the problems, the more money you earn, the more outgoings. It doesn't ever get easier. And I would never sell the fact that it gets easier, because it doesn't. And you guys know I'm always raw and honest. And business is a roller coaster. You're going to have times where you're like, oh my God, I'm on the up. Business is great. Teams are great. It's all working. I'm earning the money. This is fabulous. And then something will happen and it'll go, shoom. And then you'll be like, oh my God, this is the worst. Get me out. This is just part of having a business, being a CEO, and riding the wave of that journey. And this is why business isn't for everyone. This is why most businesses fold in a year, 3 years, 5 years, even 10 years. Because it's so damn hard. It's so hard. And you have to be super resilient to be like, everything's great, everything's not, everything's great, everything's not. It's just how it is, which is why it's so important to have a coach, I believe, as well. So then you've got someone to ride them waves with you and keep you high when things aren't great. But I think for me to have that mindset, I think I've been in business for so long. I'm just so used to it, putting out fires and, seeing what's going to happen next. Because having that resilience, you need really strong resilience. You need to see everything that happens as a learning curve. You need to be like, okay, if this was to ever happen to me again, how would I maybe deal with that differently? In the early years of me starting a business, it was the fact of, my mindset was, I need this to work because I have no other choice. So that's a little bit like going all in on a business, right? Getting rid of the 9 to 5 and going in business because then you don't have a choice. And that was definitely my mindset in the beginning. I have no other option to either go bankrupt or make this work. So I was obviously going to make it work. Just living and breathing business, that's what got me through. Researching everything, going on the courses, having the mentor, keep trying to pivot if things aren't working. And that's the strong mindset that you need to have to be successful in business. How do I delegate when I find it hard to let go? Oh my God. Now I'm the delegation queen. I'm actually the delegation queen. I'm really good at delegating, but it took time to get there. And I think once you see, wow, this works, I've outsourced this job and I no longer have to do this. That's when you're like, okay, I can do this more. But it's just the part of letting go, which is hard in the beginning. So I would always start with, look at all the things that you do and what don't you like doing out of those things? What are you like, oh, I really hate doing this job, or I'm not good at this job? Delegate those things first. So then you haven't got this massive to-do list with loads of rubbish jobs that you don't like doing on it, or things that you know you're doing, but you maybe could definitely hire someone that's doing it better than you. Start with that first, and then you'll see this obviously works. I then have time to work on more things that I like doing or bring in money. And then you can, you'll feel confident enough to then delegate more. But definitely delegate small things first, and then you'll be able to delegate the bigger things. You also need to let other people grow. If you're taking everything on yourself, you're not giving then your team a chance to step into their light, give them a zone of genius, give them that progression to grow. So that's another reason why it's really, really important to delegate. And you'd be really surprised of the fact of how much your team actually want to help. So definitely start delegating.
I'm so privileged to know the inside of so many businesses, hundreds, if not thousands. And the one thing that loads of people struggle with is numbers. We make so much money, but then it's gone by the end of the month. We don't know where it's gone. We don't know our outgoings. We don't know our incomings. We don't know our profit margins with the treatments, which is an absolute must if we are running a business. I have been working long and hard creating an app that is for you to make sure that you know your numbers inside out and become the CEO you really need to be. So make sure you check out the show notes below and find out more.
What does it mean to actually be successful? Now, this is a really, really important question, because what success means is very different to everyone. What success means to me and what makes me happy is very different to what someone down the road feels success is. Some people think success is these big businesses, loads of money, huge teams. Someone else could be like, that is my worst nightmare. That is not success to me. Success to someone else might be working at home in, their home cabin, having zero stress and knowing that they can feed their family and they've got the income that they want. And they will have that income goal, and that's success to them. You need to know what success is to you, because then that's when comparison starts. And what is success? It's just what makes you happy as an individual. And that's really, really important to remember. For me, success is freedom. If I can be anywhere in the world, if I can work anywhere, and I have the finances to be able to do that, for me, that's success. Why do I need to keep pushing and pushing and pushing and building and building and building if I don't necessarily want that, or if I don't necessarily need that? There was times when I'm in business and I've been like, I need the next business. I need to now get to 80 grand months, 90 grand months. Like, why? I remember once saying to Luke that I'd hit a certain income goal. This wasn't that long ago. And I was like, just done the biggest launch I've ever done, which I'm truly blessed about and thank God every day. But I was like, okay, I've hit that goal now. I'm now going to go for this goal. And he turned around to me and said, why? I was like, I don't actually know, it'll be fun. So I'm like, I don't know, it'll be fun. He was like, but why? And I was like, it just brought me back to kind of like what success is to me. Yeah, why do I actually need that? I don't need that. I'm just putting more pressure on myself. So I would really urge you to look at what is success to you. Is that freedom? Is that having that secure job? Is that having a business that's doing 10K months? Is that doing a business that has multiple teams or multiple salons or whatever that is to you? Look at what your success is, not what anyone else's success is, and then build towards that. And make sure as you grow, you remember that, because it's so easy to be distracted in, I want more, rather than what was the point in building in the first place. So I would definitely say that. What is your advice for creating consistent monthly income? Good question. Now, another thing we see online all of the time is 50 grand months, 100 grand months, 10K months. And it's like, what, you took one 10K month and then you haven't done that for however many months after. Has it been consistent? Like, it needs to be consistent. I much prefer consistent income than huge months and then dips the other months. So consistent income, obviously, depending on what your business is, you can create a membership. So you've got a consistent income coming in. You can do payment plans if you do higher ticket services like coaching. So then everyone's on direct debit, so you have more of a consistent income that way. And then obviously if you're in salon, looking after them clients, so they're returning and making sure that people are returning regularly, so you know each client is worth a certain amount. This is what people forget actually. They look at people that come through their doors and just see what they're bringing in at that time. Well, you need to see what is that client worth over a period of a year, and then their lifetime value. So how long are clients with you? And that's where the difference comes in, because it's not about that service or that course that day. It's about, are they coming to me monthly or every 2 weeks or every quarter, or are they a once a year person? Because then you can manage everything around that. If you're then saying, well, I'd like to get to, or I'd like to make another £2,000 a month, let's say, I would then say, okay, well, how many treatments do you need, or how many courses do you need to sell, or how many clients do you need to then bring in that extra £2,000 a month? If you say, well, I need X amount of new clients a month, that's like a lot. If you're like, well, actually, I only need X amount of people, and if I make sure they're coming back every month, then that's sorted. Amazing. Consistent monthly income, subscriptions, memberships, direct debits, like payment plans, as long as there's contracts in place, and repeat clientele every single time. That's what will help you be consistent. How do I know if my business is ready to scale? Scale could mean taking on more staff, could be opening up another location. It could be just adding on another stream of income. Scaling is what that again means to you. I think if something is already working, it's bringing you what you need. Obviously, you're always going to have to put out fires, but you've got systems in place and all that kind of thing is working. Then I'd say, okay, let's test scaling now. Like, let's see what it's like to open up that second location, or take on another staff member, or step out of the business, for example. but you need to make sure things are working in the first place. Let's talk about second locations. Second locations is always the hardest thing to do, okay? I have many clients that have second locations and third locations. I've had multiple chains of salons. The second location was always the hardest. The reason being is because the first location will hold up the second. As soon as we step away from a business, this is actually the same in anything. So if you used to open up another stream of income, another business, another location, it's the same. The fact of as soon as you step away from that first business, which was doing well in the first place, that's now going to have to hold up the second one. It's going to be the pot of money that funds the second one if something dips. So then obviously that affects the first one. But also you'll be taking your eye off the ball on the first one because the second one needs you so much more. You're starting a new business or a new income stream or whatever that might be. So you need to make sure that that first one is solid before the second one. So you can afford to take the eyes off that business. If you take your eyes off, will it not dip? If it doesn't, great, you've got an amazing business there. If it starts dipping, you need to figure out, okay, do I need someone to work on this side of the business so that carries on? Is there a way I can split my time perfectly so everything has 100% of my time when it needs it? There's lots of things to consider. But when you do open up a second one and it works, the second, the third, the fourth, ongoing is a lot easier. But where you put your energy will naturally flow better. So you just don't want to spread yourself too thin on anything. Also, when people come to me and say, I want a second business or I want a second location, I will always support that, or especially with my clients, I obviously support them whatever they want to do, but I will always try and find out why. And if I believe that's because that's the direction they need to go, then I'm like, yes, let's put the pedal down, let's do this. But I'll always question them first. Why do you want that second location? Why do you want that second business? Is it because that's where your passion is? Is that because that's where your mission is? Is that because that is definitely the direction you want to go? Or is it because ego? Is it because you feel you have to because everyone around you is? Is it because the pressure is on of, oh, you're going to open the second one? Or what else are you going to do next? So just make sure you're in a line with whatever your growth is, rather than doing anything because you feel you have to. Also, when it comes to second locations for like salons and clinics, is it best to open up a second location, or is it best to open up just a bigger location and everything still stays under one? They're different things that I would definitely consider. Massively would consider, because sometimes it's better just opening up a bigger location than having two, unless obviously you want somewhere in a different town, city, etc. Should I hire self-employed or employed staff? Now, I'm going to talk about this differently to how I've kind of talked about it before. If you are in the salon business, because I know there's lots of other businesses that listen to the podcast now, if you're in a salon business or clinic business, I will always recommend you to employ. And there's very fine lines between having someone self-employed and having someone employed. So for example, there's loads of people that are doing it wrong in the industry. They will have self-employed staff, but then they'll make them wear uniform. The money goes through their till. They are holding team meetings. They are calling them team. Like, all of that's completely illegal. So you need to be really careful if you do have a self-employed team. The reason why I always recommend having an employed team is because you have control over your business. So I'm not building a brand that I want to be like wrecked by anyone else. So I want to make sure that team are employed, so I can say, look, you need to wear what I need you to wear so it fits in with the brand. I need you to greet customers like this. I need you to make sure aftercare's like this. I need you to make sure treatment's like this. I can mold them into how I need them to be. I also am going to make a lot more money doing it that way. So that's why I'd always recommend employment. Employment always seems scary because of the added costs that come with that. but ultimately you will make more money. You can build a brand. You can't build a brand with a self-employed team unless you're bringing in obviously a co-working space and you're renting out loads of different places within your space and it's branded like that. That's different. But if you're doing percentage splits, or rent rooms or anything like that, then it's a little bit different. You just need to make sure you're doing it right. So there's not a right or wrong. I talk about this loads in my book, by the way. So if you haven't got my book, shameless plug, Get Off the Tools, I talk a lot about it on there. But you just need to make sure if you are doing self-employment, you need to make sure you're doing it right. On the flip side to this, if you want to outsource stuff, maybe you want marketing team, maybe you want a sales team or whatever that might be, outsourcing and self-employed people are always a really good way to do this because you would hire people that are already good at them expertise. So then you don't have to train them and they can just crack on with whatever it is that you've hired them for. We have a big system of contractors that work for us as part of our team, but they're not employed. And then on the other hand of that, I have also a team that I do employ that help us with certain things, with marketing, etc. So there's no right or wrong with that. It just depends what you want to do. When I'm like, okay, if you want people inside the business, if you want to mold them a certain way, if you want them to only be with you and no one else, then employ. If you're not bothered and you just want to hire people for their speciality to work on the business for X amount of hours a week, then contractors and self-employed are good for that. So definitely just look into it before you do anything and weigh up the pros and cons. But in a physical salon or clinic, I would only personally ever employ unless I was building a co-working space. Okay, 2 more questions that I'm going to answer quickly. How do I stay motivated when business is slow? Now, business is seasonal for our industry a lot of the time, and I will see it all the time, and it obviously happens to me with my salons as well, is we'll be like buzzing in summer, and then we'll have a low for winter, and we can get really down about it. We think, oh my God, business is failing. Oh my God, what am I going to do? Oh my God, I need to make people redundant. Oh my God, I'm going to close. We have to understand that this business is seasonal, but there is also ways to try and keep it as busy as we can all year round. That regular client base, that really looking after them, that making sure that they feel like this is a necessity for me and my lifestyle rather than I'm just having it for holidays. There's ways that you can do that for your business. Yes, your take-ins are going to be higher in summer than they will be in winter. For a lot of businesses, it depends on obviously what service you should do, but whatever business, there will be lows at certain times of the year. So it's about understanding that, being okay with that, and being like, but at least I've got still consistent income all the rest of the time of the year. But in the busy months, the seasonal months, I'm going to be like so much more better off and can like, put cash in savings. We can make sure that we're putting money aside so it's there if it does go quieter, rather than just blowing it. I see that all the time where people are having really good months and then they blow it, and I'm like, you wasn't really strategic about that. So you kind of know the average that you take over the year, so kind of like just split that up and just be clever with your busy months. So then when it comes to your quiet months, you're not freaking as much. So I would definitely recommend that. But if you're building a strong enough brand, the dips won't be as much. And that will be so much better. And that's when your like panic mode will start to go. And then the last one, actually to add to that, when you are quieter, instead of thinking, oh gosh, like I'm panicking, you can think, do you know what? I'm going to do the things that I never get time to do. Or I'm going to work on the business. I'm going to work on the marketing. I'm going to ramp it up so much. So then like next month, we're going to have the best month. So sometimes it's not about going into panic mode. It's about doing all the things that you don't normally have time for. It's about doing that client reach out. It's about making that client experience even better. Like, there's so much you can do in quiet times. So actually see it as an opportunity rather than a negative. And then my last question, what are the signs of burnout and how to prevent it? Now, I feel this is a very important question because I've been burnt out several times and it's not nice. And I know some people that have been burnt out that's completely wiped them out. The thing is, it's really hard to get that balance. I'm not going to lie. Especially when you're starting a business, you need to go all in. You'll be working all the hours. If you're like me, you won't want to sleep and work through the night, like building stuff. But I feel that when you feel that your health, I mean, funny because I'm poorly, but it's not because I'm burnt out. If you feel that your health is deteriorating, if you feel that you're low mood, if you feel that you're not enjoying things anymore, and you're just in that real negative mindset and you're getting really poorly, you're becoming burnt out. If you're, there's just so many ways of seeing the signs of burnout. And I think you'll just know if you are looking after yourself. So I just think, don't burn yourself out, because no one really needs to wear the burnout badge. No, you don't need to justify yourself for working so hard. So I think, yes, you do have to work really bloody hard to make business succeed, but you also need to make sure that you're taking time and rest for you, because if you are burnt out, you can't help anyone else. You'll start slacking on other areas, you'll start making mistakes, your team need you, your family need you. So it just comes back down to making sure that you are always looking after you. And if you have really heavy parts of business, let's say, for example, when I launch, I go all in and I know I'm working ridiculous hours, but I also know it's temporary and it's just for a time when it comes to a launch. And I know after that launch, I have loads of downtime. So it kind of balances out the really hard work I'm putting in. So my point is, if I carried on working like that, I'd get extremely burnt out and not be able to work at all. And that's what you don't want. So when you are doing things like launches, or you're starting a business, or you're doing another location, or whatever is happening, maybe you're producing that online course, just make sure that, yes, you do put the hours in to make it work. Otherwise, quite frankly, it doesn't work, because you need to go all in. But then you need to make sure you've got rest time after that to recuperate. That's really, really important. So when it comes to work-life balance, it's just bollocks. There isn't work-life balance. You're not going to spend 50% at home, 50% at work. I just don't feel like it works like that. But it means that when you are working, you're all in. But when you are at home, you're all in as much as possible. And that might mean that you're spending more hours at work for a while. But then you'll have time to relax after that. A bit like me, I work really, really hard on the run up to summer because I want my summers off. And then I know I don't have to work in summer. I know everything's batched. I know everyone's looked after. And that's really important to me. But I'll work really hard up until the summer. I'm not going to lie, I work really, really hard. And then I'm like, you know what? I've got 6 weeks off, 7 weeks off, however long I want to take off. But I'll work my work around that. So just be careful for your work-life balances. And when you do start seeing that sign of burnout or that you're knackered, book that spa day, have some time out. That's okay. Never feel guilty for having time out, because you will be naturally working a lot harder than someone else does that maybe be employed. So just allow that time to take time out, to take time away, to book that holiday, to book that weekend, to have a Netflix day because you need to chill. They're okay. So make sure you're looking after you. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I love questions, so just feel free to keep sending them through, and I can do some more episodes like this as well if that helped. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. See you soon.